evening. Good evening. Hello. Nice to see you. To see you, nice. I hope you're all having a beautiful evening there. The microphone is working. Everything is working. So good evening, welcome to the live stream. Let me tell you how this works. If this is the first time that you have ever been on live stream, which I doubt it is, but if it is, I will tell you how it works. So you contact me and ask questions through Skype. My Skype address is Cairns12 and you find it in the box below. You can't contact me on YouTube. I do these talks every Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. If you want to call in, you need a microphone and headset and good internet connection. And I speak to you through Skype, not through YouTube. Sometimes that's confusing, so you normally have to turn YouTube off because YouTube is in the past. Believe it or not. I know it's in your present, but it's in my past. Time is a very funny thing. Yes, that's how that works. If you don't like watching these longer talks of me faffing around so much, or if you just want a shorter nugget of these talks, then there's another channel called Lisa Cairns video clips, and you can see it as associated channel. And the channel doesn't belong to me, it's to someone else, but they edit all my talks, and I think they publish maybe like every day, like short little clips of the talks. Yes, so this channel is just for the whole talk, no editing, all the bumping around, going to the toilet, talking to Khaleesi, having a drink, whereas the other one is like edited to perfection. You never see me picking my nose, scratching my nose, blowing my nose. Only question and answer. That's a joke. I don't know if he edits that out. If you want to come to an event I'm doing, the next event that I'm doing is in August in Germany, between Hamburg and Berlin, and it's a Tantra and non-duality, I think 6 days retreat. I'm not teaching the Tantra, I'm teaching the non-duality, so half of it's Tantra taught by my friend Siddhartha and half of it's non-duality taught by myself. Yes, and you have to go for an interview with Harold before you do the retreat for the Tantra side of things, because it might get saucy, naughty. I don't know actually what will happen. That's not my section, but he wants to make sure that you are prepared for that. So you, I can contact him. The information is on my website. I'm doing another retreat after that where it's just me teaching, and it's non-duality, and normally I mix it with, like I do half non-duality and then I half do like some emotional release stuff, because I find that even though everyone's always like, I want just non-duality, but when you're doing a retreat, emotions come up, and if you don't release them, then they normally get puked onto me or puked onto your retreatants. That person is lying. That person is always asking questions. That person doesn't wash well enough. That person doesn't listen well enough, and they think that that has some truth in it. And so we do some emotional release to work on these things and to see that it's just thoughts and feelings and that nothing in the end matters. Nothing matters. So that's in October. I don't think there's anything else to state. I think the next thing that we do is we do the silent sitting. So you are welcome to do whatever you want in the silent sitting. I've taught people in the past, if this is the first time you're listening, then backwards a little bit, but this is the first, what was I saying again? Forgotten. Yeah, if this is the first time you're listening, like normally in the past I've told people some meditation techniques that they can do. Maybe I'll tell it again because I haven't told it for a few weeks. So basically, just so that this really excites you and makes you ultimately motivated to do this, is that what I'm about to tell you, firstly, is not meaning to imply that there is somebody in there that can do something. And secondly, so it's not that there's no doership in this. And secondly, it will either happen or not happen. So you'll either follow what I say or don't follow what I say, and that's not actually down to you or your choice because that is illusory. And thirdly, this meditation practice will not lead you to enlightenment. No meditation practice will lead you to enlightenment. No practice will lead you to enlightenment, because who gets enlightened? Who? So the meditation practice might calm the body-mind mechanism down. It might calm your habits and conditions down. But your habits and conditions aren't a separate entity that can get enlightened. They're simply something that's appearing, and you can change them. To me, what liberation is the end of attachment to them, the end of the belief that I am a habit and condition, I am a thought going in time. But who is this person? Who? Let's just make sure all my technology is working as I was moving everything. I see why you're not moving, table. Because of the other thing. So the recommendation practices that I will tell you about is the I am practice, where basically it means putting your attention back into presence, into that sense of beingness. Not I as in I am a person or I am a form in any way, but this amness which is prior to form. So that sense of being. So that's one practice, is just keep repetitively putting your attention back into presence. And then the next practice is the metabhavana. Oh no, not metabhavana, mindfulness of breathing. And that is that you follow your breath. So in every in-breath you count 1, then 2, and you count all the way up to 10 on your in-breaths. And when you get to number 10, you come back to number 1 again. So on your in-breath you go 1, in through the nose, out, 2. And the way I was taught it is like when you feel that breath going into your nose, you count. And then when you get to 10, you come back to 0 again, and you just keep doing that. So those are the 2 different practices. And then also there's the other practice where you just do nothing. You just sit there and then see what happens. So, okay. Okay, we can begin. Let me just check everything is working. Looking good. Looking good. What was the title again? Not that it makes any difference. The simplicity of this. It's still the same subject no matter what. Oh, have I spelled simplicity wrong? Simplicity. Yes. Oh wow. The simplicity of this. So what is simplest in life? It's functioning through your true self to live a simple life. It's getting good at being simple. Simplicity becomes the clarity in which you find meaning. It's the removal of the unnecessary. Self-simplicity is the intersection. That's funny. Well, it says that I've spelled it right in there. Okay. So the simplicity of this. So, suffering comes when there is attachment to anything that's happening in life. Don't you just love it how I'm always changing the way I speak? You're like, one week you're like, yeah, I really understand her. Yes, yes, yes. And then the next week I change the way I speak. You're like, oh. So it's all about attachment to stories, ideas, concepts, things, anything that's arising in your life. Predominantly what we're most attached to is the chooser and the person that you believe yourself to be. But also there is attachment to things. And then from that suffering arises. From that we go into deluded thinking of blame, pity, victim story, longing, neurosis, fear, anxiety. So there is attachment to these things, and then that has a ripple effect on the brain. So there is an attachment to something false, and then the effect is neurotic thinking, and neurotic behaviors, neurotic relationships. Everything becomes neurotic, which is a very interesting word because it's got erotic in it, so it's like the opposite, neurotic. I don't know what ner stands for, but it's like the opposite to erotic. So erotic's all sensual and sexy, and neurotic is like the brain explodes. It's like the inside out erotic. To imagine two bodies making love to each other with their skins turned inside out, and that is the definition of neurotic. Done. Yes, so that's what begins to happen. And this subject is this most amazing journey, which isn't a journey because that's an idea and that's an attachment to an idea, but it's this amazing, seeming, dreamlike journey of detaching from the lie of you, your life, and where you're going in life, and remembering your presence that is right here, right now. And the remembering isn't like a physical memory of like, oh yes, I remember what presence is. That can happen in the brain, but that's not actually it. It's like seeing it again. It's clearing everything out of the way and really realizing and knowing what's here beyond everything that's changing. Like really knowing what you are beyond that which is changing. And it's kind of this, when that's really seen, or when that's really known, at some point, it might be worth the knowing, or it might be after knowing, there's kind of a shift around, and you stop, the character that stops being the focus, so the attachments, which you could say is the character, because the attachments make up the character, stop being the focus, and then what comes into focus is who you truly are. So it's like almost like who you truly are has been hiding behind this illusory you, and then they kind of shift around and the character goes into the background. The character is still something that appears, the character doesn't die, it's part of this vessel, it's part of expressing through the human form, but it's no longer you, it's no longer an experiencer. So some people say there is no self, like there's a dropping away of the self. And to me, the dropping away of the self isn't the character, so the characteristics, it's not the habits and the conditions, it's the attachment that believes that is who you are. It's that energy that's saying that is me, which that isn't you, that's a happening. And it comes and goes. So what remains? So what remains is this beingness, this presence, this empty looking, and this sense of being. And you can even go deeper than that in a way, because when that's really gone into, then that kind of all disappears and you're left with nothing, which is by default everything. The problem is your essence, because it's not a thing, and because it's identified with thoughts and feelings and emotions in the body, you're always personifying that and making it into something. So even if you see it, it's normally the person that sees it, and then the person believes it gets it. And the problem with that is that then there's still this attachment to the body, and the body arriving somewhere, and the feelings arriving somewhere, and the emotions arriving somewhere, and it's still this investment into time. So if you look at what the character is. The character is habits and conditions, and then the wants of that character, because the wants of that character determine what happens in that character's life. So you want to listen to this talk, and so it determines your current experience. It determines what begins to happen in that body-mind. It's the same with your partner, like the partner you choose determines a lot of your day-to-day experience. It determines where you live, maybe how you bring up your kids, or if you have kids, what society thinks your financial income. So look, every decision is kind of determine what we define as character. there is no such thing as character really, but it's all these things combined together. So in psychology, there's often this idea of having a healthy ego. And a healthy ego is an ego that knows what it wants, because your wants are very important in the orchestration of this body. Because if you've got lots of neurotic wants and lots of unhealthy wants, then you're going to get yourself into unhealthy situations. So if you've got a want to be dominated, then you're not really conscious of it, but your body is naturally going that way. Like you're consciously thinking, like, I don't want to go that way, but your body is naturally going that way. If you've got a repulsion towards authority or a hate for authority, maybe then there'll be an attraction to annoying authority or debunking authority, but it might not be a conscious thing. Your body just seeps that way and it goes in that way. So you could say that this is like the wants are what's creating your reality, but it's a completely impersonal thing. Your wants aren't something that you determined before you came in this life. You sort of got out a notepad and wrote a letter to life and like, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. It's kind of determined by genetics, karma, whatever that is. Like, I mean, I know what it is in certain terms, but like also maybe there's like this other element that we can't define of like habits and conditions that get reborn that you can't really, it's like magic, it's not like family heritage. But one of them is family heritage. And there is also conditions that your social conditions, your interactions are also defining the way in which your character chooses. And so choosing is a really important part of your life because it's determining what is happening in your life. But it's not somebody's choice. So what most people are like really screwed in the head about is that you choose and that you've got to choose the right thing. And if you don't choose the right thing, you're going to be unhappy in the future. And that's all a lie. But in psychology, they call this the healthy ego, having healthy wants, determining what it is you want, and then manifesting these healthy wants. And I'm totally with that. I just don't believe that there is somebody that can or can't do that. That's just happening if you transform your wants into healthy wants. And I also suspect in a way it's impossible to kind of just have healthy wants. I suspect that you can maybe change it so it's more towards healthy, but things tend to like to come in half and half, eh? If you haven't noticed. And so I would say that everyone has, to an extent, unhealthy wants and shadow wants. And maybe it would be impossible for you to fully determine that. But that doesn't matter so much. So this is a really important part, the wants part. And in lots of previous talks, I talk about law of attraction, and I do feel like our life is determined by what you want. But it's not in this kind of like, so I don't like see it in such a sort of like typical esoteric way. It's more complex than that, and also more robotic and impersonal. Like in law of attraction, it might be like, you can get what you want if you put the right thoughts in. You've just got to believe in yourself. But I don't really think of it like that you have to do all of those things. I think it's true that if your wants are pure, and if you line your wants up correctly, then life will follow through. But I think it's in a much more impersonal way, a much more deeper way. Like I think we're only conscious of 5% of what's happening in making a choice. I think it's way deeper, and they even say that choices are made 5 seconds before you consciously know it. But I also think that by becoming conscious of things, then you can reprogram the unconscious. That's complex, eh? But miraculous, baby, miraculous. And basically, suffering comes from the attachment to this. So it's all connected to wants, because wants in a way make your character, it makes your life, it makes your social status. We always think it's like it's luck as to what happens in this life, but not really. It's not really luck. That's way too simplistic. Like if you take entanglement theory, then it blows your mind when you begin to think about this, that they've begun to prove that two atoms that interact can never be separated out again, in the sense that you could put them at the opposite ends of the universe, but the movement affects each other. I mean, what does that do for the idea of free will in you and you determining your life and life happening to you? I mean, it's like boop boop. That's pretty cool. But suffering comes to this attachment to the idea, or this attachment to your wants, that wants equal pleasure, and that pleasure equals getting home. That's not conscious. You don't think that, oh yeah, I'm gonna get home if I get this pleasure. It's just a feeling. So you imagine, most people, it's about getting money, I would say. And you imagine that when you get enough money, you will be able to relax and you will feel at home, you'll feel free. And that's the lie. That's the endless lie. It's also what causes so much dysfunction in relationships and so much dysfunction in jobs, because you're always believing you're going to get there and you never do quite get there. You're just about there, you have moments of it, and then it's like it's off, and then you're running again trying to catch up. And this is the perpetual lie of the human. So you believe that who you are is this person, and then your wants are your kind of like character, but you're not really conscious of that. And then this chasing after the wants is this seeking energy, which creates lots of suffering and lots of mental anguish. But it's all kind of happening unconsciously, you're not really aware of it. And when I point this out, maybe you're like, what the hell is she talking about? Oh, that's so confusing. Why can't you be more simpler, Lisa? Because I can't. I was in an interview recently where some ladies said to me, it was really like genuine, but she didn't mean it offensively, but she was like, we're going to talk about, like, because you're a woman, or like, let's talk about more day-to-day stuff. I don't think she meant it in a sexist way, but it maybe sounds that way. Like, I don't think she did. I think it was really genuine. And I couldn't stay there with her. Like, I tried to talk about like the day-to-day, the relationship, these day-to-day things, and I was like, off, really complex again. Like taking it out really extreme. I just can't stay simple. Just check that everything is working. Hello. Yes, everything is working. Nice. You can see I've got a nice big puffy bit of hair up there. Oh wow. Non-duality is this kind of personal and impersonal thing, because at first when you're in non-duality, the idea is that you think that you as a separate person, that you're sitting there, you're listening to these talks, it's your choice, it's your free will, and that you are going to arrive at something called peace of mind, or you're going to be more peaceful. That might be the effect, that you are more peaceful, but you have this belief that you are going to arrive somewhere. But the thing is who is this you that's going to arrive somewhere? It's all thought, it's all idea made. It doesn't mean that you don't practice sitting in the I am, because you're not even doing it anyway. The idea that that's a prescription and that you're doing it is your illusion. Like, that's something that's appearing. The mind comes up with the thought and then that's followed through. The same with if you decide to cook dinner and follow a recipe. You believe it's you, but it's not you. So I'm not saying don't do that, but all of that practice and deconstruction is on the human level. And it's the person being deconstructed. And that seems to be what happens for most people. For some people it's sudden and there's no path and there's none of this. But for most people it's a deconstruction of that person. And when that person is being deconstructed, at some point there is just this letting go that happens, this surrender, which everyone says is grace, which I agree with, but everything is grace also. But that letting go just kind of happens, like, so you're deconstructing and it feels like you, and then at some point it just swaps over. You stop being this separate person and then you are everything, and in that appears this separate person, in that appears this apparent character. But the character is no longer the center of the universe. Beingness is. It's no longer you. It's a happening. And that is magnanimous. Magnanimous. And this deconstruction doesn't have to look like anything. It's all, so the mind feels agitated, it's feeling uncomfortable, and then it wants to go to the story of what can I do, where can I go? And really what's happening in that is there is discomfort in the solar plexus region, more than likely. And then there's these thoughts appearing, and then there is an energy which believes that has truth, that if you get the right path, if you do the right thing, then you'll feel better now, or you'll feel better in the future. And all of that's in your dreamland, and the whole time in that there is presence. So there is this presence that's happening, and then that's happening in the dream, and you're constantly following that which is happening in the dream. And then it's like, stay still, but it's nobody that can stay still. It's here already, that stillness. It's like, go to that stillness. And then the person's like, where is the stillness? But it is, it's like, it's so obvious to me. It's like peering in that stillness. It's here, it's in everything. It's in the room, it's not a size, it's not something you can grasp. It's in the looking, but then the looking isn't separate from everything. The experiencing isn't separate from everything. So the hearing and the heard are the same, the seeing and the seen are the same, the feeling and the felt are the same. It's only a mind which is energetically making you feel like who you are is a solid instrument that's separate from all things, that you're in here and that you're conscious. And people even believe that, there's a point where your consciousness ends and the world begins. But that's not actually your experience. It's a craziness. There is no point where you end and the world begins. There is only everything that's happening. There is no point, like, where does your consciousness end? Does it end here and my voice is here? But then how do they meet? And then you see everything is arising in consciousness. And then you see there is no center to a consciousness. And then you see consciousness is not a thing. And then there is simply everything, or nothing appearing as everything. Isn't that wonderful? Mind is like, what about me? What does that give me? What does that give me? Where's the bliss? I don't experience the bliss. And then the mind's like looking for the bliss. Where's the bliss? And the bliss is in time, and then the stillness is here. Here, 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 here. And the stillness is so still, it is in all movement. Nice. Okay, we take some questions. So let me check on the text again. Let's check. So if you'd like to call in, I'm really happy to speak with people again this week. If you would like to call in, please just call me, please, so I can see it. So hi, Wesley. Just say hi to a few people. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Graceful. English. Hi, Nick. Hi, Jack. Hi, Liv. Hi, Anu. Hi, Oleg. Hi, Dia. Hi, Isabel. Hi, Harry. Okay, Oleg wants to speak. Please call Oleg. Hello. Hi, could I just get you to turn your video off, please? Yes, please. Hang on, I'm just putting you in black hole as well. Hey. Hello.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Just 1 second, and I just need to put Skype in black hole. 1 second. Cool, nice. Hello. Can you just speak now?
Hi.
Hello.
I want to thank you for my awakening.
Sorry? The problem is that you're super quiet. Hello?
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now?
Better? It's a little bit better. I can hear you enough, I think. Oh, but there's terrible clicking. I think there's maybe something wrong with your microphone. I mean, it could be me, but I think it's something to do with your microphone. I can't hear you at all anymore now, Oleg. Maybe you can, just have a practice and then we'll speak in a little bit. And if it might be me as well. I can't determine that. Yeah, but it's really quiet. Let me just practice with Skype. I just try with Skype to see if it's me or to see it's you. 1 second. I can test audio. Yeah, I don't think it's me.
Yeah, I hear you very well.
Yeah, I think it's you. What about if you just test your microphone and you can test it in Skype. There's all different settings to be able to test it, and then we speak in a little bit. Okay. Thanks, Oleg. Bye. Hey, David. So is there anyone else that would like to call? Any callers? Any callers? Oleg was the only one. Okay, Harry, I'll just read out your question. But if there's any callers, just put please call, and I will call you. Hi, Lisa. Is there a live stream today, and how do I join? Okay, looks like it's starting in a while. Can you say that an attention or focus on something distinguishes us from the true nature of consciousness? No, focus is simply focus. Oh, Harry would like to call. Okay. Hello.
Hello, Lisa.
Hey!
Hey,
Hey, thanks for calling.
yeah. Uh,
How can I help you?
okay. So I just want to ask, we we say that everything is happening in consciousness.
Yeah.
So can we say that our attention or focus uh, distracts us from the all-inclusive nature of consciousness?
No. That's what it might seem like. But no, attention and focus is in the dream. So it's something that you can see, your attention or focus. So you can see that you focused your attention on the window or that you focused your attention on your knee. So it's something that's happening. So consciousness is not distracted by it. Consciousness is still conscious of it. It's appearing in consciousness and it's free. What can happen though is that the mind becomes very disturbed, or not disturbed, just neurotic, or very overactive, maybe not even call it neurotic. And then there's a lot of attention in the mind and the identification. And so it's like you're very focused on that. So rather than like being focused on the window or the computer or a TV show, you're very focused on the story of you. And then that can seem very present, but it doesn't affect consciousness. Consciousness isn't affected by anything. What happens is, at some point, there is a detachment between the illusory you and the consciousness, and then there is a residing back in consciousness. Normally, that is preceded by you becoming less neurotic and holding on to so many false ideas. So normally it's like that mind that's very disturbed when you get into this subject settles down. But it's not about attention. Attention is something that's experienced in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand this. So what you are saying is consciousness is all the time, consciousness itself is not distracted.
No, never.
But my experience is that I am not uh, I uh, as a separate self. I'm not experiencing consciousness all inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's simply what you think. So that's what you think is going on, and that's what you're hypnotized into dreaming about. But it's not
right,
true because firstly, there is no solid you that is stuck in a dream. So there isn't a
correct,
solid you. There is thoughts and there's feelings appearing in every moment. And secondly, that hypersensitivity and hyper-focus on the character is simply a functioning that's appearing in an immense space. So right now, you're conscious of the room, you're conscious of my voice, you're conscious of everything that's happening. And you believe that's you, but that consciousness is happening automatically. It doesn't take any effort for that to happen. It's automatically there and appearing, conscious of this whole entire room and me and my voice. That's not something you're doing. And then in that, there's a movement of focus that's happening. And then there's also this thinking that's saying, I'm choosing, I'm doing, and then telling a story about what you're going to do, what you have done, where you've been. And then there is a belief that your freedom is found in that storytelling world, whereas the consciousness is here, free, right now. It's not identified. So it's that you're focusing on the wrong thing. So you're saying I'm not free because you're focusing on a story that's telling you you're not free, a story that's telling you that you are a limitation. But when there is a relaxation, it can be seen by no one that that consciousness has never been bound, has never moved in time, has never been contained in anything. It is everywhere and everything. It is all things.
okay. So I'm kind of getting it. So you are saying that I'm hearing your voice. I am focusing all these the voice, your voice appears in consciousness. I mean, uh, without me as Hari,
Mm.
thi- without me as Hari putting an effort,
Mm.
your voice appears in the
Mm.
consciousness.
Mm.
Is that what you are saying?
Yeah.
Actually,
And Harry does too as well. Everything's appearing in that consciousness. But what Harry believes is that Harry believes he's limited, so he has the experience and the feeling of being limited. So he feels like he's a limitation walking around inside of a separate world, whereas actually you're walking around inside your consciousness.
oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I think I kind of get it. I need to digest it.
Sometimes what happens is that when you're listening to the subject, it's almost like there's some form of zoning out, like it's like you get it in thoughts, but then there's some sort of like moment where it sort of tips over that, and it feels so true to you, but you can't exactly grasp that because it's free, but it feels so true to you, but it's not really conceptual.
Right, right.
It's known.
Okay,
It's the most intimate sense of being.
okay, okay. And second question is like the time. Like, the most difficult thing to imagine. Even I can even imagine in the sense that I may not be experiencing, but I can even imagine there is an awareness, etc. And many of you, who have this non-dual, who communicate this non-dual philosophy, time doesn't exist,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's a very difficult thing to imagine. I mean, or maybe I can say that it is impossible to imagine that
Mm.
time doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. But
Time doesn't
the,
exist means actually um, um, there is no continuity. There is no continuity to anything.
mm,
It is almost like if time doesn't exist, uh, n- uh, nothing exists.
nothing's happening. Yeah, there we go. There's the appearance of things, but that's all it is. It's the appearance of things. In actuality, when you really come, like, zoom into who you are, everything begins to disappear. There is no time. There is no you. There is no world. There is no floor. There is no sofa. There is no good or bad or right or wrong. There needs to be apparent time for the character. There needs to be things happening for the character to be able to function in this society. But it's seeing that that's all it is a functioning. It's in no way depicting truth. Time is a human invention. Space is a human invention. It's not the laws of the universe. It's something that the mind made up, and this is why science never fits.
Can you repeat it? You were talking about space and it's an invention. Is it what you are saying?
Yeah, an invention of the human mind. It's not an actuality.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's not. Um, yeah, it's not the nature of reality. The nature of the reality is nothing appearing as everything, and everything being nothing. It's this emptiness and fullness. Which means there's no time, there's nothing apparently happening. It's so mad. It's so out of the scope of what we know on the human level. The human is always in subject, object, in things, destination.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And everything is screaming that. The trees are screaming it, the birds are screaming it, the dog barking. Everything is screaming this absolute mystery of what is. And it's the human that suffers because it believes it knows what is. It believes it knows what life is. It believes it knows what itself is. And then it goes through this imaginary world suffering because of its illusion.
Can we say that in our sleep, deep sleep,
Hmm.
um the awareness is in its own nature?
Nothing.
In deep sleep,
Mm.
can we say that our deep sleep is a realization experienced? I don't remember it when I get up. Immediately, my memory of what I am and the world comes into me.
Mm.
But when I am sleeping,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, there is nothing going in from the
Mm.
world, and I don't think.
Hmm.
Can we say that? Can we say that at that point, uh, it's like a realization, state of realization? Or what is the difference between my deep sleep
Mm.
or when I am consciously realized or enlightened? Like you are in that state, actually, you are in that state of enlightenment.
Mm.
And what is the difference between that state and the deep sleep state?
Deep sleep is nothing. Like nothing's happening in deep sleep.
Okay.
So you could say, um, what we imagine it to be is not true. So you've got an imagination of deep sleep, and everything that you imagine about deep sleep isn't deep sleep because it's something that is a form that you've put onto it. So deep sleep
Uh,
is nothing. It's not a thing that we can imagine happening. But it's so amazing that it's so free deep sleep of any containment that it doesn't even exist. So deep
what?
sleep doesn't even have existence in it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like it doesn't have it never exists, deep sleep.
Okay. Okay.
That
Yeah.
sounds that sounds so conceptual, and it's like the best
Okay.
I can do with it. But deep sleep never comes into manifestation.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right.
And what happens in life, as opposed to deep sleep, is its manifestation. But manifestation contains half of it is that deep sleep, you could say. But when life is happening, it's in existence. So therefore, it's recognizing itself. But that doesn't mean that everything is secondary to nothing. Like everything and nothing are the same thing. Everything is that nothingness. So a lot of teachers would say that that nothingness is prior, is the like true source of who you are. But also everything is who you are. Like it's not so simple as that. Because we never have deep sleep, we never have non-existence. It's always existence and non-existence simultaneously happening because non-existence doesn't exist. That
Oh,
sounds
okay.
so crazy. That's so deep. That's so hard to put into words.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I mean, I understand that it is difficult to put it into words. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, other teachers would say stuff like, and I really appreciate that too. I'm not meaning to say that it's lesser or anything, but other teachers, and maybe on a different day, I would say, deep sleep is consciousness at rest.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Ari. Yeah.
patiently answering.
Oh, with pleasure. Thank you for the questions. I enjoyed that. Thank you. Nice. Okay, bye, Ari. I think I lost contact then. Yes, nice. So is there anyone else that would like to speak? Any more for any more? Any more speakers? Hi, Dennis. Hi, Lisa. Can you say more about the sense of time? For me, it seems like today, now is forever, almost all the time. Morning, evening are years apart. Thanks. Dennis in Kentucky. Yeah. Everything is memory. Everything is memory. And what's really interesting about time, so because I spent years traveling a lot, is the more things that you do during the day, I think the further that time seems. So if you do a lot in a week and you travel to many countries, it seems like the week prior was further away. And I think it's because your mind has more things to remember, so it seems like it's further. So when you just had like a day of staying at home and doing the same thing, it seems to go quicker because you don't have so many like elements to remember. But that's just my theory on it. But it's all memory. And the future is kind of like the opposite of memory. It's like a projection. But it's an image as well. And they don't inherently exist. Isn't that cool? It's so opposite to what other people are playing in all the time. Other people are always playing in time. Me. Blame. Oh my God, it makes me feel sick. The media, like the blame and the projections that we have onto people and the standards we hold them to. It's so illusory. It's so illusory. Even me doing that is simply my projection onto my idea of what this media is doing. It's my body is producing that image, and then for me saying that your body is producing that image. But it's not inherently true. There aren't any other people out there. There aren't this media. There isn't these arguments or the society or the coronavirus. It's all in your imagination. And when you appear to function in that realm, but it's all imagination. And more than likely, the way that it feels here is that the reality is dependent on what your mind is imagining and what your body is producing as choices and wants and desires. There's not a fixed world out there that you're interacting with and you have to become enlightened from. The world is you. You are the world. Thanks, Dennis. Anybody else want to chat? Please call. Okay. Okay, we'll try Oleg again and see if he's managed to fix his audio. Hello.
Hi. Now better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Lisa, for your help in my realization.
Oh, nice. Pleasure. I don't know what I did, but something happened, and that's miraculous.
Your video good conversation with a guy from Hungary helped me a lot.
Yeah. Nice.
In clouds in sun helped a lot too.
Yeah. If you really contemplate the clouds, like that could be a really profound realization, like or a really profound contemplation, just to the moving clouds. Like, what does that reflect about life, about what you think, about what you know?
I have a stressful life, and I don't understand why realization don't happen with me. But your videos shift my focus from finding who am I to relax myself.
That's good. But there's still a belief there that you are going to become realized. Who is this you that's going to become realized? Who do you think you are? Who are you waiting for to become something? So there is this attachment to a person that's going to have a particular experience and going to arrive somewhere. Often that happens because there is an uncomfortable feeling in the body. So it could be that you feel disempowered, or you feel stuck, or you feel an emotion that you don't like. So then what happens is the mind tries to come up for a solution for that, and the solution is, I've got to do this, or why am I not realized, like blaming, like why am I not realized, why haven't I made it? And it's seeing that all of this is just thought form, that there's nothing to grab hold of in there. And none of that is true. It's here happening in this space of who you are. And who you are doesn't care if you get enlightened or not enlightened, not because it doesn't care like we imagine it, but because it's not in that realm. It's just watching, it's just experiencing itself. It's so free, it's not a thing and all things. And then the person comes up and it's like, why aren't I enlightened? Or why haven't I got it? And that thought is an antidote to something else. So that thought's not freely happening. It's because somewhere else in the body there is a discomfort. So one thing that can seemingly happen is that you see that thought, you recognize that it's illusory, and then you investigate where it's coming from. So does it come from the solar plexus, feeling disempowered, feeling not good enough, feeling like you haven't made it, feeling like you failed? And if that's the case, it's just recognizing that feeling and seeing that that feeling has no truth in it. It is like the clouds, it comes and goes, and that you're not going to fix it by imagining getting enlightened. You're not going to fix it by doing something. It's simply something that's here and will pass when it's ready to pass. So just giving it space and seeing that none of that is a reflection on what or who you are. It's like the trees, it's like the room, it's like the other people. It comes and goes. It's simply happening. You can do some emotional release techniques that I've taught and that other people teach, but in the end, the freedom is right here. The freedom is always in that which is here.
Yeah, I have realized this.
But you think it's you, but who is this you? I know that's what you say, that's what we say in English.
I have bad English.
Yeah. But sometimes it's very subtle, like the person still believes it's arrived somewhere. But noticing really deeply yeah.
Lisa, no believes in the person at all. I see creation of the person in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But my bad English.
You're doing very well. It's hard, isn't it, speaking a different language? You're doing really well.
A person don't fool me anymore.
Yeah.
If I can say like that. A person appears, no, I don't attach for the person.
Mm-hmm.
I know seems dual sound, but the construction of the person appears in a consciousness, if I may say like that.
Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, it does sound dual, but that's okay. I mean, who cares about the way that we speak in the end? But if there was going to be any suspicion from my side, which it's really none of my business as to what's happening in you. That's like I just say this just to throw it out there, and if there is anything that's illusion that's happening there, then maybe it gets challenged. But in the end, like that's like your realization, your awakening is down to you. It's not down for someone else to determine. But just what's the interest in telling me that?
what interested?
Yeah, why do you want to tell me?
Because
That?
I with you, I watching your videos from 2014.
Yeah.
I it's my my gift to you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh nice.
I want to know that your work is doing mm, some help. Is
Oh nice. Okay. Okay. It wasn't like a peacock, like erecting its feathers. It was okay. And it's totally that's totally you to know that, like not me. So you've got to determine that. But it might come that speakers or people will point these things out because the illusory eye can be so sneaky in claiming things, and it's just seeing that there is nothing, 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 nothing that's you, and that nothing matters. There's nothing to defend, to be, to get, to gain. But that's really beautiful, and I really appreciate you phoning up because often I hear people suffering and people saying that they've got problems, and so it's really nice to hear somebody that's saying they haven't.
yeah, problems disappear. I don't believe in this possibility before.
Yeah.
I think a problem will be for my end times.
Mm.
But now there's nothing.
Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Life just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I imagine something else when I watching you. It's completely different when this shift happened.
Yeah. We might not be talking about the same thing, like you never know in the end.
Maybe, maybe.
Like,
But I want to tell you anyway.
yeah, yeah. Like there's teachers that that I listen to their description of things and I think I don't know if I'm talking about the same thing. Maybe there was one point where I thought, yeah, we're talking about the same thing, and now, oh, fuck knows. But yeah, but it's totally your experience, even though it's not your experience. But you don't need anyone to validate it or define it. It is what's
No, it's not
happening there.
validation. It's I want to share with you without no uh, some validation or anything.
Yeah.
Some sounds strange. But it's feeling from my heart.
Yeah. Nice.
Your teacher Roger helped me a lot with non-doership.
Mm.
I don't quite understand non-doership part, non-duality, and his words clicked in my mind, and shift happened.
Mm.
I don't become a doer at all.
Have we spoken before?
Just, do we speak before?
Yeah.
Uh, yes, but it's was not by Skype. You connect with me through with your powers. I type a question in the YouTube, and you answer trying to connect with me through through Skype.
Yeah.
No, it's spiritual, spiritual, if I may say it like that. It's your practice, psychological, if I may say it like that. You ask me to feel my solar plexus. I need to better my English skills.
It's so hard to talk. You can sometimes understand, but then getting into talking is a lot harder. You're doing really well.
I understand you very well, but
Yeah.
my speaking
Yeah.
speaking very bad.
Yeah. No, you're doing well. But nice. Maybe I'll move on to someone else with questions. But thank you so much for calling in and saying that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, lots of love. Bye.
That's all. Bye.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, Lisa.
Hey!
How are you? Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure. How can I help you this evening?
Yeah. Why is it hard to, we talked before many times in Skype. Sometimes like 1 year, 2 years ago, I say I am, and everything just happens. Now I say I am so many times, nothing happens. Why?
What do you expect to happen?
That I disappear.
And that's what's happened in the past. You said I am, and then there was a disappearing.
It is like, I want to ask you, why is it related? Is it related to my physicality, or it has nothing to do with physicality?
In a way, it has nothing to do with physicality. So consciousness isn't physicalized. So consciousness seems to look through these bodies, but actually, when you really notice it and the sense of the I am or the sense of amness, it's actually everywhere, and the body's appearing in it, and it's not anything to do with the body. It doesn't get changed by the body in any way at all. Like, it doesn't ever move. It's just here. It's present. But it looks through these bodies. But the identification seems to rise in the body. But that can create lots of thoughts like,
Yes,
but what I need to do is I need to work out the body.
Yes, yes.
And what seems to happen in the process is there's a settling down in the body. And then at some point it's just that grace kicks in, and there is this energetic movement from this illusory energetic contraction to no longer being contracted. But you can't really say that it's the body that does that. It's just kind of grace that swaps it over. I mean, maybe one day they discover like an error in the brain or something that is doing it, but I don't know in the end. But what we can say is that grace just swaps that over. And in a way, you never were contracted, like it was all illusory anyway. So now what's happening in you is there is a story running that you, a couple of years ago, had these expansive, disappearing experiences. And now you want to arrive at that, and there is a belief in that. And it plays into your story, because if you're a regretful person, then it will begin to play regret. It will begin to be like, you messed up, you did something wrong, you had this opportunity and now you've lost it. If it's like a victimized person, then it will be like, life took it away from me, why does it take it away from me, why does nothing work out for me, like life is always punishing me. Like you'll tell the story that fits you, and none of it's real. It's all like an energetic habit that's maintaining an illusion. None of it's real. So on the human level, it's kind of, what you can take from that is a kind of seeing the illusions for what they are. That it's not true that you had this a couple of years ago. It's not true that you've lost something. It's not true that you're going to arrive somewhere. Like, consciousness is happening right now. It's here in all things. It's so still.
Yes. Why the transformation sometimes is strong? That's grace, yeah? That's grace. It depends on the grace.
Everything's grace in a way, like even you deciding to work on yourself is grace, but yeah, it's unknowable. Like, you can't make that shift happen. It's something that happens. What you can seemingly do, even though everything is grace in the end when you really examine it, is just working with the person and sort of pulling yourself out of these illusions that can go on and go into time. So if you're like lost in a argument or a fury with someone, you can see that that's illusion, and practice bringing your attention back to the moment. That you can explore the feeling, you can see the feeling, you can give it space, you can determine where it is in the body, and then see that it's not true. It doesn't contain any truth. Like, nothing you think or feel contains truth.
Yes. So basically, with yoga and meditation and everything, we are just clearing the path so that it just happens by itself.
Yeah. Sort
Actually, we are not sort of.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, that's a story, but yeah, it seems like with the yoga, with all these practices, that you're settling the person down, but in the end, it's the story. In the end, there is nobody that's ever settling itself down, and who's going to wake up? Who do you take yourself to be? It's okay to go into that story land, and it's okay to tell these stories, but the person is addicted to constantly finding a story for itself because it's terrified of it being a mystery. So it likes the idea of waking up and having this mission of becoming enlightened. That can be relaxing, and that's okay. but just also seeing that that's a story and it's relaxing for you and that's okay. You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can hold that, but it's not true that somebody's going to get awakened. That's a settling of the person. Who would get awakened? Who's going to wake up now?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, and that's really beautiful getting to that, like, I don't know, because that is the answer.
That's the answer.
Yeah, that's the answer.
What is the difference between I don't know and I am?
Well, there's not, I've become like a tart with words, like I use all types of words now, and I've given up trying to be pedantic about it. I mean, initially when people were saying I am, I thought that they still had some form of identification there, but it's not necessary. I mean, words are just words, and when you're speaking with someone that doesn't natively speak English, I mean, what's the point about being pedantic about it? Like it's that you could say that all there is I am, and you could either see that as something separate or not, and that's an undefinable thing. But because I am is total mystery. Where if you take it to what I mean as, and I say I am, it is like a mystery. It's like disappearing so deeply into yourself, you don't know what you are.
I used to say I am. This is something that I remember. I mean, it's not something in my memory so much, but I remember something. I said I am. I took a match and I burned something, and I brought so many things in the house, and I just burned everything, and I was just in the I am, and I didn't care, and I was just burning everything, and then I realized this is what I want to really do. And after that, when I thought about it, I thought to myself, this is the state of the I amness is something that just allows anything to happen. So the experience that once happened with I am many times, it just brings me into that that judgelessness state. So yeah. And also whenever I, so just now, yeah, it's I don't know. The answer I'm looking for is I don't know.
Ich weiß nicht.
I'm sorry?
You're just saying it in German.
Oh.
I've been learning German lately. Ich nicht weiß. Ich weiß nicht.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, well, thank you for calling. I'll move on to someone else now, but that was really lovely speaking with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Lots of love. Bye. Ich weiß nicht. Is there anyone else that would like to call? Please ring D.Y. Dudley. Hello. 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 Yes, no, hello. Okay, I just hang up. Dun, da, dun. So D.Y. Dudley, if you sort out your microphone or what's happening on your system, then you can give me a call back. D.Y. Dudley. Dudley. Hello? Hello?
Is that working?
Hello? Yes, I could hear you. Hello?
Hi,
Hey, can you hear me?
can you hear anything?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello?
I don't know why it's not working.
Okay. You can check your settings in Skype and then call me back. You can go into Skype settings, so just so people know, you go into Skype, so just go up to the top and then go into settings, and then you put video and audio, and you can test your video and audio. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Could we say deep sleep is a relaxation of the vibration that creates the world, the body, and separation in essence? And could it be that permanent deep sleep is the ultimate purpose? Consciousness got to know itself and it's back. Nothing is the absolute purpose. I just finished this, Dennis, and then I give you a call. I don't know. Je ne sais pas. I don't know what purpose is. The ultimate purpose. I don't know. It's very existential, the idea of purpose. Really, there is just here, and that's that. It's like non-duality comes out as like really profound and really like existential, but really what it's pointing out is the most simple and obvious thing. It's just here, and in here everything kind of disappears. So in a way, I suppose there is kind of like a merging back into no thing, but then yet there is everything. But that everything isn't a thing anymore. So then it's just left with no thing, and you just go round and round, and you're like, you explode. Thank you for your question. Okay, Dennis.
Hello.
Hey, Dennis.
Hi.
Hey.
You can hear me fairly good?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Can you hear me
Oh,
okay?
yes, absolutely.
Good. Nice. How are you this evening?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So you were talking to someone earlier, and you were talking about so when you get that separation, and then you get the anxiety afterwards,
Hmm.
where it comes back.
It doesn't always have anxiety. It depends. It depends on how you're set up. But yeah, anxiety a lot of the time because you
Yeah.
believe. The reason the anxiety is like a predominant feeling that separation produces because it's so much pressure on you. Like you believe you've got to control yourself, and if you don't control yourself, you could do something bad, or something bad could happen to you. That's so stressful. Yeah, it's like being over attentive when you're driving. You know, if you're over attentive when you're driving, then you cause problems. It's like being super, like every movement that you make in the car, like you're super attentive and believe that if you make any movement wrong, you're going to have a crash automatically. It's like that's like the most worst way to drive a car. Like you've got to get into the flow with the car. So in a way, the best way is like not driving. Like you're just in total flow. And I suppose in a way that's what non-duality is like totally surrendering. And when you're obsessed that you exist, then you're like trying to manage the ship with too much precision, and that's really stressful.
Yeah, because I experienced that yesterday morning. So I woke up, and we I guess we try to like enjoy the comfortable part of like because we were sleeping, and then I was able to feel or see that distance, and it was really nice. And then I don't know how long afterwards, but then this tremendous anxiety, and it lasted for a while. So I just tried to stay with it and try to
Yeah,
figure out what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was listening to you were talking to one of the other speakers. It sounds like, I guess what you're saying is um, try to be the consciousness or understand that you are, that all this other stuff's flowing through, right?
I'm not actually giving you a prescription
Right.
when I talk, so I'm kind of like dancing around it, but it might sound like I'm giving a prescription. And if you want to take it as a prescription, then I'm sure that that can be very settling for the person. So if you want prescription, then my prescription would be to, so the anxiety arises. So identify what the anxiety is about. So if it's about money or your girlfriend or like all the different things it can be about. So say we take it's about money. So there's a thought coming in that you've got this bill coming and that you haven't got enough money in your bank. And so initially that thought is about action, it's about you doing something, and that's okay, but then it becomes intense and you become worried about it. And then it becomes like an identity thing and a belief thing.
Yeah.
And it becomes personal. So say it like becomes like a rumbling in your gut that like this big society is going to come and get you if you don't have any money and bad things are going to happen. That's it at the extreme. And it's just seeing that happens. So more than likely it's something in the solar plexus or the sacral chakra or the root chakra that's getting activated. Just noticing that's appearing. And you can release it if you like. You know, you can try and talk it out. Like you can say the basic thoughts that exist in that area, like life is going to get me, bad things are going to happen, whatever the basis is. So coming down to the basis. And then once you've determined that and once you've given it space, then you just kind of sit with it. So the mind keeps wanting to dash off into what they're going to do, what you're going to do, how to fix it, and just keep bringing the mind back to the sensation and to the experience, and noticing that the mind and that experience appearing in this immense space of who you are. So notice that I'm seemingly giving prescription, but my disclaimer is that it's impossible to give prescription. I can only ever give description for something that may or may not happen. So you're asking for a prescription, and I'm saying if you feel like you want a prescription, then here's a prescription. But know that it will either happen or not happen. The idea that you will then do what I just said is simply an idea that you are doing it. It might be that after listening to it, you then go and imitate what I said. But notice that that's something that's arising. That's not an independent entity that is acting. There is no independent entity. There is simply life happening with feelings and thoughts appearing for no one.
Yeah, I think so. When I started to look at it and feel it and kind of get an idea of what it was, that's what it was. What you're talking about was like, and it's more of a like performing to the individual, you know. And so it was
So
pretty eye opening.
it was actually about money, or is it about your girlfriend? What was it?
Yeah, about
But,
girlfriend.
yeah.
It's just putting on that constant performance, and then it kind of like opened up to just in general, like life in general, like trying to be that performer on stage for the most part. So it was real enlightening
Yeah.
and real humbling, I think, and painful.
And just seeing, like, so if you don't perform for your girlfriend, the assumption that she won't love you.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, you're creating that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like in some way you're creating that. Like it's not a conscious thing, obviously, and there's no you that's actually creating it, but it appears like the illusory you is creating that. So it's like you, in a way, that illusory self wants to pick a girlfriend in which it performs for, because in that way it believes that it will be loved.
And then it just stays stuck in it.
Yeah, it doesn't pick someone that it can't perform for, because if it picks someone that it can't perform for, then it won't have that possibility of being loved. So it's like, and then what happens after time normally, if you get somebody that likes to, do that, is then they'll blame the other. They'll begin to blame the other. Or they'll begin to blame themselves, like that they've not done a good enough job, or they'll begin to blame the other for like making them perform so much. It's like I can never please her, she's never satisfied. And it's all like you stay out of her business. Whether she's satisfied or not is her business. Your business is you. Like, and more than likely, like, your energy has picked someone to perform for anyway. So it's like you never would have picked someone that's satisfied with you, because somebody that's satisfied with you, you've never got the possibility of seeking through them. So you've never got the possibility of seeking to obtain love through them.
So, and then is part of it so that I can see that and then get beyond it?
Yeah,
You
in the
think?
end, everything is a gift.
Yeah.
Everything is your gift. So it's like it arises, like, and then you see that, and then you see that that isn't who you are, and that won't bring you the love that you're looking for. The love that you're looking for is in presence, is right here, is holding that dynamic right now in this. It never left
Yeah,
you.
'cause that kind of seems like what it is, you know, like the real. So the false and then the real is other than that. So here it is. Look at it.
Yeah.
If you want to understand it for what it is. That's kind of, I guess I concluded for now.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lisa.
With pleasure, Dennis. That was nice
All
talking
right.
with you.
You
Thanks.
too. Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, my loves. That is 2 hours. Now I go and walk Lisi and have my dinner. Or if it's a different time and you're watching it, then maybe that's not what I'm doing. Maybe I'm working, or going to the toilet, or having a bath, or watching TV. It depends. Time is relative, if you haven't noticed. Okay, my loves. Have a beautiful week, and I shall see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. French time, which is 5 p.m. English time. I don't know the other times. Yeah. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.